Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the book launch of Redesign the World by Sam Pitroda. Allow me to introduce our speakers for today before I hand over the floor to them. Sam Pitroda is an internationally recognized tele, is an internationally recognized. Sorry for the faux pas. It is just the, I guess, anxiety of having him on board. Sam Pitroda is an internationally recognized telecom inventor, entrepreneur, development thinker, and policymaker who has spent 50 years in information and communications technology and related global and national developments. He has served as an advisor to the Prime Minister of India on public information infrastructure and innovation. He has also served as the chairman of the Smart Grid Task Force, as well as the committees to reform public broadcasting, modernize railways, deliver e-governance, and other developmental activities. Sam is a founding chairman of 5 nonprofit organizations, including the India Food Bank, the Global Knowledge Initiative, and Institute of Transdisciplinary Health. He is also a founding commissioner of the United Nations Broadband Commission for Digital Development and the chairman of the International Telecommunications Union Empowering Development Board that looks to empower developing countries with the use of mobile technology. In addition, Sam is a serial entrepreneur who has started several companies in the United States. He holds 20 honorary PhDs, close to 100 worldwide patents, and has published 5 books and numerous papers. We welcome him to the conversation this evening as he speaks about his latest book, Redesign the World, a global call to action with Vikram Singh Mehta. I'll just add Vikram to the stream. Vikram Singh Mehta started his career with the Indian Administrative Service in 1978. In 1980, he joined Phillips Petroleum in London as the senior economist. In 1984, he returned to India to join Oil India Limited as its advisor's strategic planning. He joined Shell International in London in 1988. He was appointed managing director of Shell Markets and Shell Chemical Companies in Egypt in 1991 and chairman of Shell Group of Companies in India, 1994. He left Shell in October 2012 and is currently chairman of think tank CSEP Research Foundation. Vikram has been the recipient of Asia House's Businessman of the Year award for 2010. He also received Asia Center for Corporate Governance and Sustainability's award for Best Independent Director for 2016. We welcome you to the session, Vikram. So before I hand it over to the two of you, let me just introduce the book a little. Hyperconnectivity and COVID-19 pandemic offer a unique opportunity to redesign the world to take humanity to the next level. The proposed redesign of the world has planet and its people at the center, keeping its future challenges in mind. It's built on the foundations of sustainability, inclusion, equality, equity, and justice so that everyone on Earth can enjoy peace and prosperity. It's not an idealistic or utopian vision, but one with humanity at its core. Over to you, Vikram.
Thank you, Mansi. I'm honored to have this opportunity to converse with Sam. For many reasons, Sam is an icon, but I'm honored because the book that he has just published is so timely. The world, as we know it, is in a churn. And it's not just because of the pandemic. COVID has simply brought into focus certain underlying realities. We are facing 3 interlinked problems: the current short-term economic and health-related challenge, the changing character of the future, which has been wrought by technology, global warming, and COVID, and thirdly, the problems that we have inherited from the past: poverty, inequality, the erosion of state institutions, geopolitical rivalries, and I could just go on and on. The fact of the matter is that the present multilateral, you might say multi-aligned world, is not designed to respond to these challenges and to deliver just and efficient outcomes. Now, many people have written about these problems. Many people have written about the need to repurpose the objectives of the state, but few have addressed these issues comprehensively, and even fewer have gone beyond just a diagnosis of the problems. Now, Sam Pitroda's book, Redesign the World, A Call for Action, is unique in this regard. It does not just limit itself to a catalogue of the problems. It goes beyond that to ask some fundamental questions. Why is a redesign called for? What should be the pillars on which this new redesigned world should be built? What must be done to mobilize collective action around this redesign? How can technology and talent be leveraged and harnessed towards this objective? How can leaders be persuaded to lead this redesign? And then, most important of all, he brings together the answers to these questions in a clear manifesto of action. And it is for these reasons that I think this book is seminal. And that's one reason why I'm so grateful to Sam and to Kitab Khana for having me on this particular conversation. May I just start by congratulating you, Sam, and thanking you for allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you.
If I was to...
Thank you.
Let me just move on and start with a very, if I may say, personal question. You know, Sam, India knows you as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, as the telecom czar that brought Indian telecommunications into the modern era. But perhaps India and Indians don't know you well enough as a person. They may not know why or what prompted you to write this book. What prompted you to make this leap from redesigning telecommunications to redesigning the world? So may I just start with a question which is a bit more personal, but which draws on the appendix of your book, which is captioned, who am I to write this book? The caption of your appendix. So I would very much like you to give us a personal snapshot of the character shaping influences that led you to write a book, which, if I were asked to use only two words to define its central theme, it would be innovative humanism. So perhaps if I could just turn to you to give us a personal review of that, and then we'll get into the guts of your book.
Thank you, Vikram. First of all, I sincerely appreciate your being on this conversation. I thought a great deal about who would be the ideal person in Mumbai. And your name came high on the list. Kitab Khana immediately got excited. So I want to thank you. And I want to thank Kitab Khana for this opportunity. And I hope we have a good conversation for next 40, 50 minutes to give our audience an overview of what this book is, which you have done extremely well. But to answer your question first, I am Indian at heart, but I have had an opportunity to live in America for 55 years. Who am I to write a book like this was an important question, because I am not a great professor. I'm not an economist. I'm not a politician. I'm not a successful businessman. I'm not a scientist. And sometimes I wonder, who am I? I never became part of any club. I don't play golf. I'm not any member of any club. I don't do anything. Okay, so I don't fit into, for some reason, any category. I'm an outsider. In every group, I'm an intruder in many ways. But when I look at my journey, I find that I had a unique journey by accident. I was born in British Raj in 1942. I was born in a Gujarati family who was very Gandhian. I was born in Orissa, not in Gujarat, of a Gujarati family, in a Gujarati family, where my father had only fourth grade education. I'm so called a lower caste because I'm son of a carpenter. I didn't go to formal school until fifth grade because there were no schools. So I went to formal school in Vallabh Vidyanagar in a Gujarati medium. And my parents had the guts to let me go when I was 9 years old to a boarding school with my brother. And that really was the key decision in my life that changed my life. In that school, it was all Gandhian. So we learned to live with truth, trust, sacrifice, understood diversity, freedom, democratic values at very early stage. These were not just words to us. We lived with it. Got up at 5 in the morning, exercised, did this, did that, learned discipline, and took responsibility at very early in life about ourselves. Our parents never asked us any questions. They just loved us. They didn't want to know what grade you are in, what kind of marks you got. They never asked a question. And that trust meant a lot to us. I studied physics. One fine day, read in the newspaper that President Kennedy has decided to take man onto the moon, got excited, thought it was romantic, and decided to come to America. That was 55 years ago. Came here, and in telecom and IT, I have been able to see the entire revolution firsthand. I've been there at the bleeding edge of the technology in America. I worked with vacuum tube, I worked with transistors, integrated circuits. Friend of mine's invented TTL logic. I was there when Intel was being formed with the founders. I used their first 4-bit microprocessor. I designed the distributed architecture for telecom. So I have had, by accident, an opportunity to be at the right place at right time. Then I made a little bit of money and moved on to India to take this huge challenge of transforming India's telecom and IT. And Rajiv Gandhi gave me political will and a bigger meaning to my life. I spent 10 years with him, had a heart attack. Rajiv Gandhi died, restarted my life in America. All of these experiences has told me that connectivity is at the core of the civilization. Connectivity is critical for community, individual, society, finance, governance, education, health. And all of a sudden, I see that the hyperconnectivity has created a world where we are all connected for the first time. But we don't know how to use this hyperconnectivity. What does this hyperconnectivity mean to human civilization going forward? So I started asking these kinds of questions. And I felt that I have had the unique journey. One, to have a technology background. Two, to come from a poor family, live in a rich country, had the old values in new systems. And I have been everywhere. I've been poor, I've been rich, I've used technology, I lived with tradition. And I thought this is the time to ask a broader question, saying, what am I going to do with all that I have learned? I've been on a board of the world's largest design institute called Institute of Design for 10 years. So I've learned design. I've been painting for 50 years, so I see things very differently. So I thought, at the end of your life, you want to really look at the design of the world. And when I connected all of these pieces together, I felt, hey, I may have a different perspective. Let me document it. Because my grandparents gave me a world which was simple, poor, and clean. I am leaving behind for my grandchildren a world that is complex, polluted, and rich. So I felt I first need to convince people that I am qualified to write this book. Because a lot of people will say, who is this guy? Never heard of him. And he talks about redesign the world. Most of the people would expect a professor from Harvard or a great politician or a president of a country to think about redesigning a world. I come from the bottom up and not from the top down. And that's why I bring in unique perspective. I have no active grind. I have no vested interest. I'm not into money making. I'm not into any service. I thought this would be a good time to document my thoughts. That's all. Thank you.
No, thank you, Sam. I'm really glad I asked this question because it frames the book so beautifully. But in the book, you actually start by talking about the need for, as you put it, a third vision. And the reason you call it a third vision is because you are arguing that the two existing visions of the world, which are competing, are simply not designed to address the sort of challenges that you were talking about that I mentioned earlier. I mean, the vision that was set up in the immediate aftermath of World War II, the U.S.-led vision, which is built on the foundations of democracy, capitalism, human rights. It's an open system. And now, more recently, over the past couple of decades, you could argue that there's a Chinese vision, a more muscular vision, a vision which has been actually, from an economic standpoint, built on the pillars of manufacturing success. And it's essentially a closed system. Mm-hmm. But you said these two visions are competing and they're simply not going to be able to address these challenges. And therefore, there's an absolute need now for a third vision that focuses on people, that focuses on planet, and which in effect redefines the parameters of progress. So could you perhaps I have a two-part question here, if I may. One is, what led you to suggest that the existing vision is simply not adequate to address the problems? After all, in one sense, it could be argued that whatever its flaws, the vision of the international order, as perhaps led by or defined by the US or the Western world, has prevented a global cataclysm for the past 75 years. So the first question is, why do you think that there is a need for a third vision? And the second part of that same question is, could you perhaps flesh out the ingredients of that vision? And then I'd like you to maybe develop that further. But if you could just address these two parts of the question, I'd be grateful.
Thank you, Vikram. Like I said earlier, world was designed just about the time I was born. That vision was led by US, which, like you said, was based on democracy, human rights, capitalism, consumption, and military. That vision has done well. It served us well. America made a huge contribution to propagate rule-based system world over. We have improved longevity, infant mortality has decreased, poverty has has been reduced. So lots of things have happened. But at the same time, lots of things have not happened. We have created inequality. World is always in conflict. Rich have become too rich. Poor have remained poor. And I felt that vision has lived or outlived its utility. Because now we are connected for the first time in the human history. All 8 billion people are connected. In the last 75 years, after UN, World Bank, IMF, NATO, WTO, WHO, we haven't set up any global institution of any substance. 75 years is a long time. And lots of things have happened in 75 years. Decolonization of the world, led by Mahatma Gandhi. Rise of China, fall of Soviet Union, rise of technology, rise of inequality simultaneously, 9/11, and finally COVID-19. COVID-19 tells me that we are all interconnected, interwoven, interrelated, interdependent. COVID did not distinguish between black and white, young and old, rich and poor, urban and rural. And we have to look at humanity as one entity. To me, that's a starting point. Existing design does not do that. It looks at America's interest, Chinese interest first. It looks at command and control architecture. It doesn't look at humanity's interest first, planet's interest first. Until you look at those things first, you cannot really rise the level of human civilization. Maybe one country will rise and become too powerful, and the inequality will continue to increase. So I felt that the vision of America, which is good, has done well, needs to go beyond America. Vision of China is all about Chinese prosperity, not about prosperity of the planet or prosperity of the people. So I immediately came to conclusion that only two things matter in life: planet and people. Planet, because we all need planet, healthy planet. Planet doesn't need us. And when I say planet, I'm not just talking about global warming. I'm talking about birds and bees and animals and insects and forest and rivers and waters and mountains and all of that. We need to really preserve this planet. And as a result, sustainability becomes the key to everything we do. So the global design has to take into consideration sustainability. And design number one and design number two, American design and Chinese design, don't talk about sustainability as the core. It is just one item on the side. Second, people. We are all equal. Doesn't matter where we come from, what our religion is, what our belief is, what language we speak, which country we come from. We've got to respect every human being with dignity, give them opportunity, treat them equally well, give them all the access. Look at what is going on with vaccine today. Access is uneven. So the second item is that the humanity has to be at the core. And you can't say that is black and white and east and west and capitalist and socialist, young and old, male, female. We have just compartmentalized this world into too many compartments. And we need platforms and not compartments. So second thing I thought the most important is people and inclusion. If you look at all the wars in the past, Vikram, every war has a lot to do with inclusion, exclusion. Whether it is colonial mindset or mindset to exploit natural resources or not treat people well. I mean, look at the conflict in Palestine and Israel. It's a conflict of inequality. It is a conflict where people are not treated with respect, dignity, for whatever reason. So I thought that sustainability and inclusion has to be the core of the new design. And you can't just use words for it. You got to build institutions for it. We have no institutions on inclusion. We talk about, non-violence, but we build military hardware. We have Ministry of Defense. We don't have Ministry of Non-violence. So that's where I come from. I say you got to change entire mindset. It's not easy to do. People are not going to accept this because they have vested interest. They will see their position threatened. Okay. And that's the conversation I want to have. The purpose of this book is really to create new conversation. I have limited time left. I'm 79-year-old. Can I really spend next 5-10 years of my life in really focusing on redesigning the world? I may not see the results, but can I get a lot of young people to demand change? Change not for America, not for China. Change for planet and change for humanity. That is the core.
Yeah.
I've given some background.
No, thank you. But can I just maybe pick your brains or get your views on the consequences of the concentration of power in the hands of IT companies? I mean, you've talked so much about hyperconnectivity as being the information technology as being the basis for, you might say, flattening society, for redesigning relationships. But at the same time, one is seeing the emergence of, a new form of control, the control of data. And you're seeing today increasing worries about the fact that these IT companies and others are less inclined to concentrate on the implications of their actions on society and focus entirely on exploiting or leveraging their control over, data, and intruding on our private space. So are you seeing them as a positive, or are you seeing them as something that will have to be addressed in your pursuit of this new world order?
See, first of all, we must recognize that information technology brings about openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, decentralization. Connectivity is about content and context. Hyperconnectivity does bring democracy in the forefront. Some misuse it, like you said, to control information, but that model is based on basically concentration of wealth, because everybody wants to be rich. They don't want to serve humanity. They want to serve themselves. So in this madness to become richer and be on the list of multi-billionaires, people bend rules, use technology without really worrying about the long-term impact of it on civilization. As long as they make money, they are okay. So digital platforms today have a business model which says more clicks, more money. So if lies generate clicks, they promote lies indirectly. If rumors generate click, they want more clicks. People can hide behind false names. If it generates more users for them, they promote that. So I think this madness about creating wealth has lost sight of the best tools of connectivity to take civilization to the next level. Connectivity is not about spreading gossip. It is about exposing truth. Connectivity is not about sort of making few people very rich. It's about democratizing knowledge, decentralizing execution. So I hope that what we are seeing today is a knee-jerk reaction, which may last for 10, 20 years. But ultimately, people will realize that information is about empowering. So when I have this phone, I am empowered. This is my window to the world. How I use this, I will learn over a period of time. Today I watch music, listen to music, watch movies and games. Tomorrow, I'll worry about my health on phone. I will get to educate myself on phone. And tomorrow I'll learn to use it in a better way. This also leads into the idea of democracy. What does it mean to be a democracy when you have phone as empowering tool for everybody? Does it mean that I can just vote once every 5 years and send my representative to a capital and let him do whatever he wants to do? That's not democracy anymore. I need to be active participant in democracy. So I think information technology is going to transform the nature of democracy completely. It is already transforming our business, our financial systems. Everything is going to be decentralized, democratized. Finance is being democratized. Finance was never decentralized. You had this big banking system and all that stuff. Now look what is happening with fintechs. Okay. I can take a course on internet to make wine or on leadership or on high tech for free. Do I really need $200,000 to get an MBA? I think these are the questions people are going to ask. An existing establishment is going to be threatened. So all those people who are in position of power are going to resist this design. They don't want quality,
Yeah, but that's the I think the big challenge that you face, because your vision, your manifesto for action presumes on collaboration, coordination, a joining of hands. It actually
people and institutions.
But it is fundamentally premised on a very expansive notion of human beings, of what they need and what they want. But the big blocker, of course, is how do you overcome entrenched vested interest? How do you overcome the block of those who have no incentive to change? And for that, you have actually pulled together a 10-point agenda for action, which I thought was very interesting. Maybe could you just elaborate on that for the listeners, please? Because I think that is the key. How do we go from the diagnosis and the prescription to actually compelling change?
Thank you. First, I think I should emphasize that the design is all about going from democracy to inclusion. None of the democracies today are inclusive. America has problem with race. Black Lives Matters have shown it to us recently. India has problem with Brahmins and Harijans and Dalits and all that. Sort of Brahminian mindset. People talk about human rights, but more important thing is human needs. We can produce everything. We need to decide what we want to produce and for whom we want to produce. We live in an economy of surplus and not scarcity. We need new economy, which goes beyond capitalism with greed, crony capitalism, to more equity, different model. We need to stop focus on consumption and start focus on conservation and sustainability. I don't need all this possession that I have acquired over 55 years. I can live a simple life and still be very happy, very content. That we need to teach people. That acquisition is not pleasure. Spending money and shopping a lot more what you don't need. to boost economy is not the answer. And finally, we got to build a non-violent world. We can't go on building all this equipment to kill each other. We are civilized. We are matured civilization. We can discuss across table. We are educated. We can argue. We have rational scientific mindset. So why do we need guns to settle an issue? If this is the part of the redesign, what do we do? What is the 10-point program? So first is recognize the power of hyperconnectivity. Think of hyperconnectivity differently. Don't use hyperconnectivity to promote what you are doing only. See, today we use hyperconnectivity to do the things that we are used to doing better, faster, cheaper. As opposed to say, I want to use hyperconnectivity to do things I've never done before in my life. We don't know what that is. That's the question we should be asking. I have some ideas on what that is. And it'll unfold as we go through this debate in next few years. Second, focus on planet. Recognize the importance of hyperconnectivity and then focus on planet. Make planet a better place to live. Global warming, water, sanitation, rivers, mountains, air, ocean, animals, all that. Third, because to do first two, you don't need to worry about whether you are democracy, not democracy, whatever. But third is definitely about strengthening democracy. Everywhere people want to be empowered. Doesn't matter whether it is communist country or democracy as we know today. Empower people. That's what democracy is all about. Strengthen it, create rule-based system, strengthen your institutions, provide justice to everybody, not just to rich, provide security, safety, equality, gender equality, all of that falls in the democracy. Then modernize your economy. This economy based on top-down, trickle-down effect doesn't work, hasn't worked. You need bottom-up decentralization. You need new way of measuring things, not just GDP, GNP. You need gross human development product. I could have less money, but I could be very content and happy. I could have billions, and I'm still not very happy, not content, irritated, angry, unhappy. Is that the life we want? So I think restructuring economy where there is equitable distribution of wealth. Of course, there will be always inequality, but the extent of inequality is what we are debating. In the pandemic, we have created a situation where billionaires have become very rich. Their wealth has gone up by 20, 30%. And poor have gotten worst. Is that the kind of economic model we want? This is going to create more stress in the society. It will create more violence in the future if we are not careful. So we need to redo the economic equation. For this, we need different kind of leadership. We need leaders who are not professional politicians, who are greedy, selfish, narrow-minded, only interested in their constituency, in one group of people promoting one thought, whether it is based on religion, based on bigotry, based on whatever. We want leaders who are in public service, who are accomplished, educated, experienced. Leadership is not about drama. where you say whatever you want to say and don't mean anything. A lot of leaders don't say what they mean and they don't mean what they say. So I am very critical of present global leadership. We don't have leaders like Gandhi and Mandela and Martin Luther Kings of the world. World needs those kinds of moral leader who are on the high moral ground and don't worry about their personal gains. Then we need scientific mindset. Today we don't have scientific mindset. Look at what goes on in India. People want to drink cow's urine and cow dung, and there are all kinds of religious festivals, and everybody is fighting with their religious background, and it's just not scientific. We need rational, logical mindset and not get emotional about our religion. Religion is there, fine, respect that, make it private. But when we are on a table, we discuss with scientific mindset, logical conclusions, rational view. Then we need to innovate. If we don't innovate, nothing will happen. We are here today as human civilization only because of science and technology and innovation. Look at what has happened in the last 50 years. My God, the extent of innovation has been tremendous. And for the next 50, it's going to be even faster. Whether it's in energy, environment, communication, transport. This is one part of innovation, but social innovation. Innovation in banking, innovation in governance, innovation in human rights, innovation in non-violence. No one talks about innovation in non-violence. Then media. Media plays an important role, but media has been focused on monetizing. Media only promotes what pays them. If you want to get your view across, if I want to get this book publicized, if I have $2 billion to publicize, I can do great. But I don't have $2 billion or even $2 to spend. So it won't get publicized because nobody will pay attention. If you pay them, they'll publicize. That model has to change. Media has a moral responsibility to promote what is good for humanity and good for planet. And finally, we need two other things. One, at global level, we got to restructure all existing global institutions, whether it is UN, World Bank, NATO, WTO, WHO, whatever. We got to recognize that things cannot go on in the same structure for 75 years. It is time to restructure. In the process, some things will not work out well, which is okay. But you got to restructure, you got to create new institutions. You got to create 10 new global institutions. I would like a global institution on inclusion. I would like a global institution on basic human needs, on non-violence. Why can't we have a global institution on non-violence? Why it is not on everybody's agenda, I don't understand. Okay. Why can't you create global institution on conservation, sustainability, as an example, international patents, international finance. Okay. And then I believe time has come for us to have a global constitution. Even if it is minimum, we must agree on preserving planet and respecting human being. That is a starting point for a global constitution. That we don't believe in killing each other. That we don't believe in polluting our planet. And then you build on it. But for that, you need some kind of global governance. Doesn't mean interfering in somebody's national affairs. It means networking, collaborating, using new tools to connect. But we still have old mindset. As soon as we say global governance, people think, there's going to be global president. No. Get off your old mindset. Think differently. Accept change. Innovate. And this is a tall order. But we got to do it. We got to start somewhere. I am hoping that young people in this world will take this book seriously more so than established because they have vested interest, like you said. But young people will take this seriously and say, hey, this is something worth focusing on. And it will require hundreds and hundreds of change agents in multiple countries to take this idea forward. It's not a simple task. I know that. But I thought it had to be written, and that's why I wrote it. Thank you.
That is, thank you very much for that. There is a question, Sam, from our listeners regarding public health and
Yes.
the infrastructure. We've seen the crumbling of public health infrastructure in this country. So the question is, what innovation is required to create a robust and sustainable public health infrastructure in India?
In the book, on a chapter on innovation, I talk about public information infrastructure for health. Okay. I do mention that health is an important issue, and health requires us to really focus on different parameters than we have done in the past. To me, we need to empower people to take charge of their health on this. Health is about wellness and not about sickness. Today, Ministry of Health is more about Ministry of Sickness. It is not about Ministry of Wellness. So first, we got to tell people that you got to take charge of your health. Today, people are not empowered to take charge of their health. People don't eat right. Look at the diabetes in India. Look at obesity in America. Okay. Now, you know that this is a disaster for a country. Why can't we focus on that first rather than worrying about it after that? So public health infrastructure must take into consideration wellness, education, technology, decentralization, and bigger role for the government. Everything cannot be privatized, believe me. This idea that private will fix all the problems, I don't buy. Of course, you need public-private partnership, but you also need with business, civil society. You don't have equal partnership of civil society and business. Even in health, you have business with big hospitals, expensive 5-star, hotel kind of hospitals, which are needed, good. I'm glad there are many, but at the same time, you need civil society focusing on educating people on health, providing decentralized health systems. So I think we know the answer. The question is, are we prepared to do it? So if you read the book, you'll find in the innovation chapter, innovations on health, innovations on education, and innovations at work.
There's another question. It's given the current political landscape of India, how do you expect young people to take the moral high ground and participate in politics or any sort of decision making? Anyone who has bright ideas or clean intention is discouraged by corruption, unethical practices, and undue influence.
First of all, I must emphasize the fact that the book was not written for India.
Yep.
Book is written for the global audience. Of course, India has a big role to play in this transformation. So I don't want to get into a lot of discussion on India, but since you have asked the question, I would say environment is given. Are you willing to fight that environment? Or you are going to say, look, make it simpler for me. When it is all clean, I will participate. There is no such thing. What you have in India is you are given. It's like Gandhiji saying, okay, make it easy for me to get independence and then I will work on it. No, you are given the reality where you know it is going to be tough for young to fight on high moral ground. But that's what you need. If you're not willing to do that, don't do it. You're not capable. Answer is that simple. Don't expect others to change to make your job easier. It's not going to happen. You decide. Do you want to do it or you don't want to do it?
Yep. So those are the two questions so far from the listeners. I don't know if there are other questions. I can't see them on my chat box. If Mansi, you have any, let me know. I know that we have been on. We have time. Oh, good.
Yeah.
But can I ask you a question, Sam, which actually goes back to your faith in the change agent and in the youth, and I think that's fundamental. I think that's the driver. That's what I was reading somewhere about the various forms of power, and we have hard power, soft power, smart power, and then there was a new term that was used for diplomatic negotiation and they referred to it as quiet power. Quietly negotiate a deal rather than. But would you now be looking to civic power to actually drive the change that you have so eloquently outlined today, and of course detailed in your book? Does everything rest now on this bottom-up challenge, you might say, from civic community and in particular from the youth across borders, coming together to question, the existing vision of the world, the existing structures that define the world? Is that really where everything is going to be focused in?
I think so, Vikram. I firmly believe that the change agents will have to come from one, youth, and two, civil society. Because when you talk to people at the top, immediately they will say the important issues are geopolitical equation. Immediately they'll go to China, they'll go to Arab-Israel conflict, they'll go to Korea, they'll go to all kinds of issues, religious conflicts, violence, military. Then they will go to trade. Oh, we are not allowed to do this. Somebody is controlling oil. Somebody is controlling, a lot of foreign exchange. So it's hard to have dialogue with them because their parameter, their worldview is very different. I respect that. Okay. Because they are enjoying the fruits of this power. They are personally satisfied with this existing order because they are gaining from it. They are milking it. They have no feel for the people at the bottom of the economic pyramid. You look at what happened to migrant laborers in India during this COVID crisis. You have to be part of them to understand what's going on. So civil society has a big role to play. And that's why someone like you become an important part of the equation. You run a very important think tank. You are connected to all the think tanks nationally and internationally. And if you can get think tank people to start a broader conversation on this idea and then energize young people, maybe we can create enough voice. All you need is 4 or 5 countries and 10, 15 major institutions. That will give you enough volume, enough voice to be able to make a dent. Don't expect people in power to pay attention to this. No way. Yeah. They would sort of, in a sense, they could even ridicule, saying, oh, this is utopian, this is not going to happen, this is impossible. Of course it is impossible. That's how everything begins. Okay. Everything begins with little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, saying, "Oh, this is too complicated. No, it will never happen." You know. And then when it begins to happen, they will say, "Yeah, we think it is good. We agree this should happen." So it's an uphill battle, but it can be done. I'm not going to give up. Okay.
Well, Sam, you just reminded me of what Edmund Burke said in the British Parliament in the late 19th century, no, 18th century.
Yeah.
No man made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he felt that he could do so little. And that is the essence of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You are pushing at a very large issue, but you're not going to give up, even though the odds are so heavily tilted against you. And I'm sure you will succeed in the end,
We
because
are
that's
trying.
the
We're
only
to
mission.
try. I'm going to put all my energy for next 10 years, if I'm going to be alive for next 10, just on this. I don't want to retire. I don't want to go on a beach and have a drink and sort of, go to a party. That's not what I do. Okay. I found something interesting to focus on. I firmly believe in it, and I'm looking to support. I'm looking to help. I'm looking to people like you and others in the world who believe in these kinds of ideas. And then I don't have all the answers. I know that. I'm not capable. But I want to stir things up and let the answers come to the surface based on this conversation. That's what I would like. I would like a journey going forward of like minded people who want to change the world. Come join us. Collectively, we can change the world. Okay. And that's the
That's
journey I want to begin.
Well, Sam, another quote: "All it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing."
Yep.
And I think that's where maybe we should.
And I'm sure a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's a crazy idea."
No, don't say that. No one will say that, because this is precisely why I think this book is such a seminal book. It puts, as I said in my opening remarks, it puts within two, covers, not just the sort of diagnosis of what's gone wrong, but a very clear roadmap on how we can address this issue, not just for our generation, for generations to come. And that's why Redesign the world, a call for action, is a must read for everyone. And I'm
You,
very
Vikram.
thankful to
I
you,
wish I
Sam,
was a
for having given me this.
Thank you. And I wish I was a multi-billionaire. If that's the case, people will pay attention.
They will.
But since I'm sort of a pauper, people won't pay much attention, saying, "Who is this guy telling us all this stuff?" And that's where I
Well,
need support from everybody. Okay.
Well, I think do we? I'm going to close our discussion because I know we have kind of run out of time.
Okay.
Sam,
So let
and
me thank you again, Vikram. Thank you for giving your time. Thank you, Kitab Khana. And I want everyone to know that in India, Penguin has published a book. So I want to thank Penguin. It is available on all digital platforms: Amazon, Google, Apple, and few others. Book is also published in US and UK. It is available in these countries and many other countries in all platforms. We are in the process of looking at translation in various languages. And I look to everybody's support to take the message out to larger people, refine the message, question what needs to be questioned, and in the process start a journey of changing the world. Thank you, Vikram.
thank you very much, Sam, and thank you, Kitab Khana. Goodbye.
Bye.